Hello, and again, welcome to Bit Depth. I'm Santiago Ramones. This is a podcast with deep conversations, including but not limited to spirituality, science, religion, politics, morals, and of course, music. For these first few podcasts, I will be speaking to you from a pre-written thing I wrote to help guide me along, but also to make sure I don't say something stupid when I could have kept myself from saying something stupid, and to explain some preliminary information. The rest of the podcast will be mostly conversations with other people and will encompass these basic questions. What do you do right now? What do you want to do? Or what are you working towards? Why? What are your beliefs about the world, as far as religion or philosophy goes? How does that apply to what you want to do? What advice, if any, do you have for other people that have similar interests as you do? As the podcast progresses, you'll get to hear how I grow, change, and learn, and how my guests do as well. Let me explain the podcast title so that you don't have to ask about it later. I'm sorry if you know what bit depth is. In digital audio, electrical signals have to be converted into binary, zeros and ones, to be made digital. The way that a transducer does this to sound is by sampling and quantization. In order to interpret pitch or frequencies, a computer takes samples or snapshots of sound waves in order to recreate them digitally. The rate at which those samples are taken is, of course, called the sample rate. In order to interpret loudness, the computer takes snapshots of different loudnesses in the sound wave. The way that this is measured is with bit depth. A lower bit depth means that a sound can only be so loud and so soft, and not that many differences in between. A higher bit depth allows the volumes to vary from extreme softness to the point of being inaudible, and extreme loudness to the point of hearing damage, and the many steps in between. It's a play on words. I'm a musician that works with digital music, but this is a podcast with deep conversations. Sometimes it gets a bit deep. Get it? Jokes are funnier when you explain them. The purpose of this specific podcast is for you to get to know me a little so that I don't have to repeat myself later on and that I don't have to explain certain things that are obvious to the people that know me. Currently, I go to school at the Academy of Contemporary Music at the University of Central Oklahoma for contemporary music production. Isn't that a mouthful? As of yet, I have the intent to compose music for video games. We'll see how that goes. It could change. It has changed before. Not that I don't feel solid about that, more that it'll be really hard to achieve. Game audio is an industry that's really flooded right now, and I certainly hope that I can make my way in. If you want to listen to my music, I'll plug that at the end. I basically do three things. One is music. I write, sing, compose, produce, enjoy, and teach music if I have to. Whatever it is involving, I love music. 2, I talk to people for a really long time about deep stuff. That's this podcast. Thanks for listening. 3, I absorb and partake in media, mostly video games, audiobooks, podcasts, information, humor, puns, nerdy things, mostly video games and podcasts, really. Hopefully, those will be more clear as you listen. So here we go with my life story. I was born in Venezuela, October 20th, 1995. I am 20 years old. Keep that in mind as I start talking about my stupid baby experiences that were important to me. I'm 20. I have 2 brothers, Daniel and Jesus, whom we call Seuss. Listen to his podcast at moodishes.com. Daniel is 2 years older than me, and Jesus is 5 years older than me. I'm the youngest, you see. My parents are Jesus and Perla. Jesus is a mechanical engineer. Perla is the best cook in the world. Both studied in Oklahoma for college, for whatever reason. My dad has been away working most of my life, but he has been providing for us. My memories of Venezuela are fuzzy. Rain, sun, house, stairs, school. I learned to read and write young, and I skipped kindergarten. I'm not some crazy genius, I just learned a little bit sooner. I came to the U.S. on October 20th, 2001. I was 6 years old. Since my parents studied in Oklahoma, we went to Oklahoma, I guess. I learned English in less than a year. We moved a lot. My first long-standing best friend was Z. Maybe I'll get him on here one day. I first started music in elementary school. Choir, obviously. Everyone did choir. But little did I know this would be kind of important eventually. I started playing trombone in 6th grade. I wanted to play percussion or trumpet, but trombone is fun. I think it's the easiest instrument to learn. The slide isn't actually as hard as you think it is. But that's just my opinion. Middle school was weird. What we called long-term relationships felt like ages of marriage. Then when those end, there's the crippling seclusion and nobody gets me while wandering alone outside, waiting for that girl I'm obsessed with to notice. She basically influenced the music I listened to outside of Sue's. My mom had breast cancer whenever I was in middle school. For whatever reason, I don't really remember having any sort of crisis about it. I knew that she was going to be okay somehow. Even if we could barely afford it. My mom is a freaking superhero. I love my mom. Band became a community, a lifestyle, really. Especially in high school. It's how I met Sable, my girlfriend of 6 years. Here's where the plot thickens a little. So, marching band. A group of nerds with wind and percussion instruments and silly uniforms marching and playing at the same time in neat formations. And it gets serious. Sorry to the people that already know what marching band is, having to listen to me explain everything. Surely this will be nostalgic for you, if anything. I marched baritone, which is like a euphonium, but sideways, like a big trumpet. It's heavy. Daniel, my older brother, was a junior my freshman year. He was a drum major. Drum majors are the badasses that lead the band. Usually 3 of them with my size school. They conduct and keep everyone relatively together and in time. Being a drum major was like being a band director with all of the hard work and none of the authority, although some people thought they had authority. Really, it was mostly glorified slave labor that we were really eager to do. I got Rookie of the Year my freshman year. I'm looking at the plaque. I auditioned to be a drum major for the next year, which people said was futile because nobody ever gets drum majors as a sophomore. Let me explain myself here. I'm a hard worker. People call me smart, which I'll accept. I'm a fast learner. At the time, however, I was shy. I was still getting over the nobody gets me part, but I had a small community of people who were supportive, and I had a college girl I was trying to court. Real ambitious, I know. It was Sable. Let me go off on this tangent. My brother knew people older than me, so I had an in with some people while still knowing my friends that were my age. Through the older friends, they had older friends, and one of them volunteered a lot at band stuff. She was quiet and in college and mysterious, and my young hormone-filled mind and heart was intrigued. I started trying to talk to her in an awkward, flirty, get-to-know-you way through text because, don't do the math. We're still together. That's Sable. Enjoy that shout-out. At the same time, I'd also joined choir and was trying to rekindle that flame of singing since elementary school. But I had joined an all-girl freshman choir, which was a little awkward and great. I was the only other guy, so there were 2 dudes. It was still a lot of fun. Anyways, back to one of the more influential parts of my experience. I was chosen to be the backfield, basically the lesser of 3, drum major for my sophomore year. next to Daniel and his girlfriend at the time. So like backfields, like I'm on the other side of the field for whenever people are looking backwards for whatever reason. I'm the one conducting so that they can see. Well, yeah, so this was a big deal for me. But this gets like super high school. Check this out. So if you had failing grades in any class, you would be ineligible for extracurricular activities. So I had chemistry with this teacher that basically only taught the front of the class. I didn't really care about the class, but I'm a good student. I mean, relatively, I suppose. After a lab or whatever, I was supposed to turn in this journal thing. I hadn't. After the eligibility day, which made me ineligible for marching band for a marching band contest that we were hosting that week. The only way to be eligible was to make up the grade, which I did. I turned in the lab journal late, but I did what I was supposed to do to bring my grade up. The teacher didn't turn the page and didn't grade the missing assignment. I'm not bitter or anything, but I did everything I was supposed to do to solve the problem. The rest wasn't my fault. Anyways, I was ineligible, which meant I couldn't be drum major for that contest. That week, I just stayed inside and felt sorry for myself, because that's what an emotional, self-deprecating sophomore does. I'm also a year younger than everyone in my grade, so I was technically a freshman. And I was, again, still going through that nobody gets me and super shy thing. And so after I'm back in commission, I'm told that was a stupid thing to do. To go inside and hate myself forever, rather than go outside and live with it. It was a stupid thing to do. I should have faced my mistake and dealt with it, rather than run away from the problem of what everyone would think of me. This realization was the start of what made me grow up, and fast. It made me realize that it doesn't matter what people think. It doesn't matter if you feel bad about yourself. What matters is that you do what you're supposed to do, at least in these roles. It doesn't matter if I'm shy. There's something to be done, and I have to do it. It really broke my introversion. I no longer cared about being shy. I no longer cared about saying something embarrassing. It broke my walls down. I have virtually no barriers now. It made me open, enthusiastic, and confident. And this is what learning from mistakes is. The next 2 years, I still auditioned for drum major. I wasn't a drum major for my junior and senior years. I guess my band director didn't trust me or something. I'm not bitter or anything. Regardless, I learned from that mistake. On the choir side, I was in advanced choir, show choir, barbershop, and every school musical. I wasn't great. My parents couldn't really afford music lessons or anything, so I was an okay singer and an okay dancer. I wasn't any big parts in musicals or stuff like that. I'm not bitter or anything. On another side, I did the high school talent show for a couple of years. Well, a couple of times. The first time with one friend in a weird, sad song because hormones. The second time was a contemporary band arrangement to do a Radiohead song because hell yeah. I tried a third time, but I didn't make it. I'm not bitter or anything. On yet another side, I was decently involved in church, youth group activities and leadership and Catholic youth conferences. When both my brothers had been atheists, I was a pretty good Catholic. I didn't understand why they weren't. Apologetics in Catholicism just made sense to me, I guess. Theology made sense to me. Somewhere around the end of my senior year, I had a sort of educational awakening. Grendel was a good book. We read lots of books, but this was the first one I really, really got and understood. The symbolism and the plot and everything. I just got it. I was interested. And this really became important in my beginnings of college. By the time that I graduated in 2013, I decided I wanted to go to the University of Central Oklahoma for vocal performance, with an intent to get my bachelor's in that and then an associate's in contemporary music production at ACM after that. ACM required that I produce 3 things in order to get in, but I had nothing. I had just gotten out of high school. So my backup plan was to get 2 degrees with 1 as a backup for if my dream didn't pan out. Because I wanted to write and record and produce my own music and tour like Radiohead or whatever. I hadn't had any voice lessons at the time though, so I didn't get into vocal performance because it's an audition. I'm not bitter or anything. I took a semester as a general music major with some private voice lessons to re-audition for vocal performance. But my teacher suggested that I do vocal music education. My first semester was basically the same for any music major, so I technically hadn't lost any time other than take voice lessons through the school. I also did marching band in college, because awesome. My appreciation for classical music wasn't as much as everyone else's, though. I really love music theory, but the standards and values of academia in classical music were different from what I valued in music. I always leaned towards contemporary music anyways, with like a classical influence. After 2 years with vocal music education, an experience I really value and it really influenced how I approach music, but while I really love education and teaching, it's not what I really wanted to do. I wanted to make my own music. So I switched to ACM to do music production. Also, my second year at UCO, I was drum major of the marching band. It was a lot of fun. I really love the band director and the group there, and everything's really great there. The stampede of sound. Take that, high school band director. I'm not bitter or anything. I'm not a party kind of guy. I'm not a hook up with girls kind of guy. I'm a serial monogamous that doesn't drink or do any drugs, nor do I go to parties because, what are friends? No, I do have friends, but we keep it clean. My college years so far have also influenced how I learn, both academically and spiritually. I got good grades not because good grades were good, but because I wanted to learn. And the grades were proof that I learned. Except for those classes where I got a B, damn it. I'm not bitter or anything. As far as my spiritual existence, it's mostly been fluctuating in the past year. Past couple of years, really. I went from pretty good Catholic to Christian in general that goes to Catholic Church and other churches, to agnostic, still going to church, and most recently atheist. I'll discuss that in another podcast. I guess that's really it. Yeah, so that's me. Basically, I may have missed 1 or 2 or 40 details. Why give everything away? You'll figure the rest out. Thank you for listening to the first Bit Depth. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram. I'm at Santiago R_music on both of those. You can listen to some of the music I make on SoundCloud. All of the music you've heard here is mine. That's soundcloud.com/Santiago-Ramones. Or just search for me on SoundCloud. I'm also in a band where Don't Tell, Dina. That's don't tell, Dina, ! Find us on SoundCloud, Twitter, and Instagram. Also, listen to my brother Seuss's podcast. Go to moodishes.com or find it on iTunes. Love never fails. It's going to be okay. I might be wrong.